Okay, this video is going to go through some basic AutoCAD terminologies, and I've brought up this Hitchhiker's Guide to AutoCAD Basics. And what this does is basically breaks down AutoCAD's functions into some categories. Your guide to the basic 42 commands you need to create 2D drawings using AutoCAD or AutoCAD LT. Things like geometry we can break down into lines, P-lines, rectangles, hatching, and circles. Those are all grouped together as geometry that we can draw in two-dimensional AutoCAD. And that's connected to precision. They bring up things like O-snap and distance. O-snap is how we attach one element to another element using different types of snaps, and we'll look at those within the program. Layers, how our drawing is set up with layers. Another important tool that we look at is the modification toolbox, which allows us to copy and mirror and move objects around and basically multi-use different objects within the drawing to make work much easier for us to deal with. We have our basic units, whether we're going to be working in feet and inches or just inches or in miles or meters, whatever it happens to be, we're going to set those up within our basics. How we print things out, how we dimension things, how we set up notes and labels, our layouts in our multi-views or sheet views, and blocks, which are basically cells or small drawing figures that we can bring in or import into the drawing itself. So if we look down through this, we can start out with the basics, review of the basic AutoCAD controls. And at the same time, I've pulled up my AutoCAD screen. This is the start screen that you're going to see in AutoCAD whenever you open it up. You can see I've got an update. I tried earlier and it said my connection was off. So anytime there's an update to the software, you may see some kind of a notification here. Some recent documents that I've had up on the screen. And basically we can get started here. So let's just go ahead and open up a brand new drawing. So we're just going to come up here to the big A and we're going to say new. When we click on new, we get the option of some different types of template files, and we'll just go with this ACAD DWT, which is just a standard template file. We'll use that one as our template, and it's going to open up into a drawing, and it's going to call itself drawing 1. Just to make it easy, I'm going to do a file save as, and I'm going to put this into my CIE 101, and I'll just right click on this, or I'll just, oops, a little slow for me, create a new folder, and we'll call it practice drawings. And down here we'll just refer to this as, I'll leave it as, we'll call it video 1. Goes along with my videos, even though this is kind of the second or third. I'm not sure which order I'm going to put these out, because I do want to kind of go over chapter 1 and 2 of the AutoCAD 2015 for civil engineering applications and include that. But I found this Hitchhiker's Guide is kind of a good basic toolbox. So let's go back to our little presentation here. Whoops. I want to stop the recording. Hit the right button. So let's look at the basics. AutoCAD controls. And we can get down through this. When we launch, we just started a drawing. Includes a standard ribbon. The ribbon is across the top. The command window is on the bottom of the screen, is a place where we can key in commands. As we start to type in AutoCAD, if I just come down here and just type in UN, just like they did, oops, should pop up. There it goes. A little slow again. UN, and it brings up, I had to move my mouse up out of there, and I don't even have to be in there. If I just type in TR, you'll notice it automatically brings up all of the commands that start with TR. If I type in L, there's my line command. If I type in O, offset, open, and you can just arrow down to the one you want. So keying in isn't quite as cumbersome as it used to be. So let me just escape out of that. We'll go back to our video. So again, this is what I refer to as a pop-up or drop down or drop up, whatever it happens to be. The minute you start typing in a letter anywhere on the screen, it's going to recognize that you're trying to put a command in. That's not to say you can't go up to the ribbon bar on the top and click on one of these items, but sometimes it's easier for your common commands to just do it by just memorizing some of those quick commands that you'd use. The mouse, very important that we have a mouse on our computer, first of all, as I mentioned in a previous video. You'll see that the left mouse button can select objects and it can specify locations depending on what tool you're in. The middle wheel or the middle mouse is a roller, so you can use that to pan or zoom. And the right click will bring up shortcut menus. Now let me just show you. I'm just going to put a circle on the screen. So if I want to zoom in, I'm just going to roll my mouse forward, and I can roll my mouse backwards. If I hold my middle wheel in, I can pan back and forth. If I just want to select it, I'm just going to left click, and you'll see it gives me these handles. So I can move the center around, I can make it bigger, or we can make it smaller by just pushing these handles. If I hit my escape key, it takes me out of the tool. But again, roll the wheel ahead, roll the wheel back, hold the middle wheel in, pan left, right, up, down, right button brings up my command on the screen. And some of these, you see this pan and zoom and steering wheels. We don't really need that because we can use our mouse to do these things by themselves. One of the new things that's in 2015. I'm just going to put a line here. Hit escape when you're done, and we'll put a rectangle over here. Now, there are some selection tools. If I select one item, I can just left click and select multiple items. Hit escape. If I left click and drag through it, it'll select everything. If I just hold my mouse button down, you'll see it can kind of give me this rubber band box, which is kind of fun to play with, and everything within that rubber band box gets selected. So if you're being specific, I just want to select this. You'll notice if I miss anything, sometimes it won't let you grab it. It took everything there because it was all one unit. So let's just see if I can grab just those two items. So it's a good thing to practice with. Using the mouse, I use my right hand on the mouse, leaves my left hand free to key in commands. If I type in TR again, you'll notice it gives me my commands. If I wanted to trim this out, I just hit enter and I'm ready to trim. It also gives me some other options. Just while we're in this trim command, I'll just show you a quick little cool tool. And I'm going to, draw some lines here. Let's say we want to trim this out. I'm just going to hit TR. That's the command I want. I hit enter. And always look down here at the bottom. It says trim, select objects, or select all. If I just hit enter, it's going to select them all. You'll notice it says select object to trim or shift select to extend it. So if I want to trim off the end of this line, you'll see it gives me a little clue as to what it's going to trim. I can trim this off. I can trim this off. I can trim this off. And if I wanted to extend this line to the intersection, I'm going to hold down my shift key. You'll see how it gives me a hint as to where it's going to trim that to. And then I can continue to trim this off. So you can create a shape or a bunch of separate single lines by just using that trim tool, which is a very cool, easy tool to learn how to use. So that's our mouse. Learning how to work with the mouse fluidly with practice is very helpful in drafting or modeling on the computer. We can set up industry standards with new drawings by setting up our units and our dimension styles, and we can do all of this within our templates, or we can create our own templates. An imperial drawing is working in inches, and an ISO drawing is working in metric. and when I should say inches or feet. Imperial just means we're working in basically North American standards. Most of the Europeans, Canadians are using the metric system, so you would be using a ACAD ISO if we wanted to set this up by a standard metric type drawing. And it's not unusual to convert drawings back and forth between the two even after you've gotten through it. You can create your own template files by just saving a drawing as a template file. A DWT is a template, and DWG is the native AutoCAD drawing model file. So that's fairly easy to remember. DWT is a template, the T is for template, DWG is your drawing file. And you can take an existing drawing and save it as a template file in case you have something set up that you're going to use over and over again. And I think in this class what we try to do is create templates or drawing files that we'll be able to reuse over and over again for particular projects that we're working on, so that we don't have to continuously set up new drawing files for the projects that we're working in. It makes it very easy. And it just talks more about this. I will actually post this link to this website on the Blackboard, so that if you want to go back and review this, you're certainly welcome to. Our units. When you first start a drawing, you need to decide what the length of one unit represents. Is it an inch, a foot, a centimeter, a kilometer, or some other unit of length? For example, the object below could represent two buildings that are 125 feet long, or it could represent a section of a mechanical part that's measured in millimeters. So we need to decide that up front. What kind of working units are we going to be working in? Our units of display. And also the display settings for the format. Is it going to be a decimal length of 6.5, or can it be, do we want it displayed as 6 1/2? Do we want it displayed as 6 feet 5 inches, or 6 feet 6 inches, I should say, with 6.5? So those things need to be determined. We need to keep in mind what our model scale is going to be. If we're setting up dimensions, we know that we can fit our floor plan on or our display on at 1 inch equals 10 feet or 1/4 inch equals a foot. It's going to have a determination on what the size of the text is that we want to show up on our sheet file. So we need to kind of keep that in mind and learn how to plan ahead just a little bit. And that's kind of important. There's always the F1 key for help, and it's easy to use that if you get stuck and you're not really sure what you need to do. So that is the basics. Let's look at viewing. See if this will take me right to it. Yes, there we go. We talked about panning and zooming on the drawing and using the mouse to do that by rolling the wheel in and out, or panning by just holding the wheel down. The other thing you can do is it says zoom to extents of your model by just clicking the wheel twice. Cool. So we said we can zoom in, we can zoom out, we can pan, If they said if I double click this wheel twice, it'll zoom everything to its extent. So it'll fill whatever I have in my drawing to its extent. So I'm going to zoom out with my wheel, and you should practice this with just some objects on the drawing. Pan up and down, and then just quickly push on the middle wheel, and it should zoom right into your extents. It'll fill whatever you have in the drawing, will fill your screen, whatever you have there. So another cool little tool. Whoops, sorry, I keep doing that. That's my recording. I'm recording this for future viewing. Customized for your pleasure. So now we're going to go back to our web browser. So again, we can zoom in and out. We've looked at that on this floor plan. If you cannot zoom or pan anymore, type regen in the command window. This command regenerates the drawing display and resets the extents available for panning and zooming. And that's simply going in here and just typing in RE. See if it pops up. I gotta get my mouse up here on the screen. I'm still in my trim tool. I gotta hit escape. Escape will back you out of any tool. Regen. And just type RE is all you really need, because it tells you that. Regenerate, and it just regenerated my model. So if I'm out here, RE, regen, So if it gets stuck anytime, just a regen will just do it. You don't see anything happening on the screen. It's just gonna happen that it's gonna reset the drawing and kind of refresh everything for you. Overlapping draw order. If we have something on the screen that we need is overlapped in the wrong direction. If this was a plan of two roads and this blue section was actually underneath the yellow section, we would need to reset the drawing order. You can modify that layout by just clicking on the modify tool. You can bring it to the front or bring it to the back, and same way with text and dimensions. We'll kind of get into that a little bit more when we start working with shapes. I'm not sure, maybe I can quickly, let me just take probably want to take a rectangle. See if I can. Whoops, not what I want to do. Pardon me. There's my draw order here. I wanted to see. I want to fill it, but I'm not really sure. No, I can do it. I'll get into that a little bit later on, I think. Yeah, here's a good time to check something. Let's hit F1. I'm on kind of a little slow connection. As I can scale, just having a mental block here on. Whoops, gotta hit. My laptop has to have to hit my function key on it. So let's just type in the word fill. Well, that was easy. Type in the word fill. How's that? Okay. Let's see if this will work. Fill mode's on. But I hate embarrassing myself, but fill's on. Okay. Anytime you hit F1, if you want to find this, there it shows it to me right here. So there's a hatch tool. Let's get out of this. So we kind of find the right location, and we're just going to hatch this. And try to anyway. Pick an internal point, and we want a solid fill, and the color will be orange. There. Alright, so now I'm going to draw another one in this direction. We'll hit our hatch tool. I always think of hatch as lines, and let's give it a different color. We'll go with little main blue. Yeah, I know. Of course, it filled it on either side. Let's see if it took it all the way through. Oh, I did. Okay. So I can push this in. You see how that's underneath now? Or the hatch, where they get that? Okay. And we'll just move it. So I'll move this down here. So you can see the yellow is over this. If I select this now, right click and say draw order, and I can say send it to the back, except I need the hatching to be sent to the back. Draw order, send to back. Oh, that's weird. That's why. There. Now let's see. It's in the back. Let's see if we can bring it to the front. Right click, draw order, bring to front. So we can bring it to the front. Right click, draw order, send it back. So that's the way we do it. I apologize for being clumsy with it, but that's sometimes the way it works. But it does fill, even though this is a continuous polygon all the way around here, it filled only what was visible on either side. So just something to watch and learn, I guess. There's my F1 still open. Alright, so now let's go back. We've explored that one to no end. Sorry about that. And we'll come down here and we've looked at draw order, and the next thing we'll look at is the draw order options are also listed, including sending all hatches to the back or all text to the front. So whatever you select is actually going to pull back and forth. So sometimes you might need to do this. If it's overlapped in the wrong direction, you need to pull it to the back. Very helpful tool, saves you having to redraw things over again. Our next topic is geometry. Geometry is on our basic information. We have lines, we have our coordinate system, our grid display. We can show grids. I don't usually draw with grids on. I find them confusing. We have different ways of drawing different objects as far as circles. So let's go and explore that just a little bit, so we can see how things are placed in 2 dimensions on the drawing itself. So here we have our drawing tools. You can see here's our modifications, but our drawing tools is what we're working on right now. We have lines and polylines. What's the difference? Let's take our line tool, and we're just going to create a series of lines. I'm going to hit escape when I'm done. You'll notice when I select these that they all select individually, okay? Because each of these is a separate line segment. So if I wanted to move this, I'd move it that way and leave other parts where they are. If we do the same thing with a polyline, you'll notice that I can draw the same type of line, but now when I select it, everything selects. So it's like a line. Think of it as a line string. Okay. The other thing we can do with polylines is we can create a polyline, and if I want to close this to make a polygon, I'm just going to hit the letter C. C and enter. So it closes it. So now it's a shape. If we want to fill it, we're going to fill it. Let's fill it with a hatch. Gives us a color. Let's make it this. The angle is going to be 45 degrees, and we'll just plug it right in here. Of course it went for, set it to vertical, so probably because of the angle that I was on, but you can mess around with that and figure what you need to for these hatches. So different types of hatches and patterns you can put on the drawing, and they become separate, so they're actually filling in those lines and creating them separately from the actual object, so they can be selected separately. Now if I do a Control Z to undo that, I can select this. Oh crap, I always do that. I'll select this and do a group. Now when I select this, you'll notice that everything goes, because I've grouped it together like a cell. If I want to ungroup it, come up here, ungroup, select the object, and now when I select this and delete it, so you can put things together as groups, you can take them apart. They're kind of like mini blocks or mini cells, so we can use those as part of our drawings. The other thing we have is our circle tool, and you'll notice there's a number of different ways to do circles. By center, which is the most common. We're going to have a center point. If I want my center point to be right here, oops, circle. Oh, function F3. There we go. There we go. And I want you to see what I'm doing here. Notice when I move my cursor to it, it gives me this little square. That is called a snap point. So I can place my circle here, or I can bring it right to the edge of this corner. If I wanted my circle to be at the center point between this point and this point, again, I'll just hit enter and it remembers my last command. So I could start it there, or I could start it there, but watch what happens when I move my mouse to the center. Right there, nothing. So let's look at our snap commands. And what I want to do is see what we have for snaps available. So right out here, I'm going to get out, go to options, drafting. These are our tools, selection. Get to the right spot. There it is. Just had to hit this drop down. So you can see that midpoint is not checked off. I'm going to check off midpoint, center, endpoint. I want to be able to find the intersection. We're showing the extension. We can show a tangent, and we can show nearest point if we wanted to, a parent intersection, or parallel. So we'll just leave these 4 on now. Now, if I come back to my circle tool, and I want to select from the center point, now you'll see I get an endpoint, endpoint, and there's my center. So it actually divides that line in half for me, right to this point. And let's pull it out and see if it finds a point that would be one that was tangent. So let's see. Tangent's turned on. That would be for the snap point. Maybe that one doesn't work. Let's do it from this point. There it is. You can see how the little tangent comes up. So I can put a line tangent to the circle. If I want it tangent to this circle, I can find that point. It just gives me the symbol. Hit enter. Come down to the same point again. Hit enter. Come back up. I want to go tangent to this edge of the circle, and then we can come over and let it find that endpoint. So we have 2 points that are tangent to the circle. If it went right by, it's going to kiss it. So it makes it very easy to snap to individual parts and pieces of our drawing without actually having to measure and key things off. So we can use the geometry on the drawing to help us do that. Let's see what else we've got here. P-lines we talked about, and putting those in place. Polylines have different starting and end widths. We basically won't bother too much with that. We can create rectangles and squares by just doing 2 points, and we just did some hatches and fills. I had to look for it a little bit. Down here we have different types of hatches using like concrete symbols or stone. This is the symbol for earthwork. Those are all preloaded into the drawing file. And I'm not sure exactly what scale we're in right now, but if we come back here and we go to our hatching tool, and we can look at our patterns, and we have some of them already preloaded. There's a lot of them. Let's see if we can find that concrete. There's steel. Should be under C for concrete. Don't see it there. Honey, gravel. No, that's swamp. We don't want swamp. That went down too far. Air and sand, cork. There it is. AR concrete. Must be architectural concrete. We'll just click on that. It's going to go on in this direction, and we'll do a fill. So the scale on that is a little too big. You can see the triangle. So let's make this scale 0.1. Now you can see that how that changed the scale on the drawing. So we can make these cubes concrete. Let's do some. We'll do some architectural brickwork. And I guess once we're in there, I'll hit escape and we'll change. You can see it went into 45 that time. If I go back to my fill again, let's put this at 0 degrees, and we'll use this brickwork here. And this is a just a particular type of brickwork where we've got what we call headers and stretchers shown on the drawing. If I want to change the color of it to something else, we can do it just as easily. Now you notice as long as this is dotted around, it's still selected. I have to hit my escape key to stop that. So just another form of drawing in 2D that we can use with the Autocad software. So that's our hatching. I didn't get into, here's our polygon tool, rectangular. We could also do it with a polyline, but if I just want to draw a quick square, I'm going to come out, let's go out 4, I'm just going to key in 4, hit tab, and go down a distance of 4, hit enter. So it creates a 4x4 square by just keying that information in. Again, let's do a 1, we're going to key in 1, and enter, or hit tab, and we're going to key in 1 in this direction, enter, and there's a 1x1 square. It kind of throws you off when it pulls it off into the other side. And let's say we wanted to move this square down into the center of this square. I can take my move tool, I can select my object, hit enter, I'm going to find the center point here, move it here, and then I'm going to hit enter again, select the object, enter, find the center point, move it down. Now watch what happens. If I move my mouse over here, it finds that center point, and I can actually use those two center points to line it up to find the center. It'll actually give me those guidelines. Just gives me a hint. You'll notice that when we're drawing just regular lines, left click, it gives me distance and angle. Gives me a polar coordinate. So if I want to put in a line that's 6 units long, hit the tab key, and I want the angle to be, oh, let's say 10 degrees. There it is. 6 long, 10 degrees off the 0 axis. So this is 0, 90 would be straight up, 180 would be to the left, and then 270 straight down. You can also use negative angles if you want in here. Let's go back and look at this some more. There's our hatching. We just kind of did that. Different types of hatch patterning with solids underneath, so you can do all kinds of neat stuff with this. This looks like a deck with some tables or a hot tub on it. Not sure what that is. We'll play around with a set origin. It says if an area is not completely enclosed, red circles display to indicate places to check for gaps, and a redraw in the command window to dismiss the red circles. So again, it's just another way that you can get in to play around with these. If you have some other related information, say you wanted to really learn more about the circle command, you can click on this and it'll take you to different aspects of drawing circles, from the edges, from 3 points, just different ways. This would be a situation where they want to draw a circle that is tangent to all 3 sides. Easy enough to do. 2-point circles, tangent circles again, just more ways to do it. We'll go back, get through this. Our next option or topic is precision. Here we have precision. We just talked about polar tracking, where we can draw a line, put in the distance and the angle. We can lock the angles if we want. We talked about our object snaps, and here are the symbols for tangent, perpendicular, midpoint, endpoint, and intersection. These are your object snaps, or O snaps. And we can change these just like we did on the drawing. If I pull this over and just hit this drop down, you can set all of your object snaps settings here, and everything is, probably we want this perpendicular, is a kind of a nice one to have checked off, because if I want to draw a line, oh, let's say from here to here. And I just want to make sure that it's a straight line. I'm just going to start my line right here, and I pull it straight up. You see how it came up perpendicular? If I come up here to this line, you'll notice it gives me that symbol. It tells me when I'm perpendicular to the first line. If I move it over here, I lose that. I can go to the center point, but when I pull this back, boing, it just kind of locks right in there and says, yep, you're perpendicular. And it's going to give me a perfectly perpendicular line from my original point down here at the bottom. Again, nice easy way to do this. We're just touching on the very basic elements of Autocad. I know there's a lot of stuff in here. I think this is a helpful little tool that we can look at. We've talked about our snaps, object snap tracking, and that's what I just showed you, the snap tracking. I probably use different terms for this, but if I wanted to draw a line that was from this center point up, and I want it lined up with this center point, I'm just going to come over here with my mouse and just let it kiss that point until I see the triangle. You see this yellow. When I see this and start pulling it back, you're going to see this green line show up. And then when I get back here to this point, it's going to lock in. So it tells me that I'm halfway up to that line, I'm perpendicular, and I can just left click and I can go back over here and put a point right into that center point. And it's going to be absolutely straight and level. We don't always want straight horizontal and vertical lines, but it's nice to know that you have those snap abilities just to speed up your process. Some function key options. F3 will turn your object snap on and off. So if we go back into our Autocad and I want to draw a line, and I want it to just be to this point right here, say 19 degrees. I know it's there, but sometimes it'll try to lock me into this. I can just hit my function F3. It turns off my snap mode. So I can just key in tab. I want 20 degrees, enter, and there's a 20-degree line. Now if I hit escape, you notice that came over. Easy thing to do now, because I didn't have a snap point. I'm just going to hit TR for trim, enter, enter again, select all, and just left click on that line. It trims it back to its intersection point. Again, just a quick, easy tool to make things go faster and easier for you. Layers. What can we talk about on layers? Whenever we get into big drawings, we're going to be looking for ways to separate things. In this case, we've got a floor plan that shows the electrical layout, where the lights and the outlets are on the walls, and where this is, if we look in this bathroom for inch, I'm trying to zoom in on it. You can see this, this is a light fixture in the ceiling, has an electrical line, goes over to a wall switch. These are electrical outlets along the wall. We may not always want to see those. We may just want to see a floor plan without that electrical information in there. So we can put our drawing into levels, cabinets and fixtures and electrical and doors and floor plans, and all of those things can be in their own layers. Let's see how that works, and we'll look at some of these tools, freezing and turning layers on and off. Freezing layers is similar to turning them off, but improves the performance in very large drawings. So if you have a very complicated drawing, by just freezing them, it doesn't require quite as much reconstruction. So let's zoom out, double click, oops, there we go. So we get everything showing on the drawing here. Why that went below the screen. And we're going to look at layer properties. No, that's why I'm still in the trim command. So, layer properties. There it is. So you can see in this basic drawing, we only had one layer. Everything I've drawn so far is on one layer. If I freeze that layer, let's pull this up so you can see what's going to happen here. If I just hit this freeze tool, because it's current layer, let's create a new layer. I'm just going to right click, say new layer, and we're going to call this one practice. And our color by default will make green. Okay? If I double click this, you'll notice the check mark means that's your current layer that you're drawing in. If I double click this, it says my practice layer is what I'm going to be drawing in now. So now if I want to freeze this, you'll notice everything disappears off the screen. I didn't erase it, I just froze it, made it disappear. If I want to bring it back, just click on the unfreeze. Get the little bright. I can turn it off, I can turn it on. I can freeze it, I can unfreeze it. And I can lock it. If I lock it, it means somebody can't mess with it. I don't mess with this too much. So anyway, let's turn that off and we'll go to our practice level, which we're in. We'll close this out for a second. And you can see that I'm drawing, I'm going to go to a little thicker line weight so it shows up on my screen better. And my color is by layer. I can override this by selecting a different color, but by making my layer by color, anytime I'm drawing this particular layer, it may be my cabinet. So let's say I'm drawing some cabinets in here, and they're all, whoops, the wrong button. There we go. So we got some cabinets in this layer. I don't know why, let's do it. You have to enter afterwards. There we go. Enter. Enter always remembers your last. So we got some cabinets. And let's make another layer now that is a new layer. And we'll call this one table. And we'll make this level yellow. And we'll make it active. And close this out. And now I can put a round table in the middle, these cabinets. Make it 1.5. Oops, 1.5. It's like that. Good. So now, if I don't want to see that, I can go to my layer properties, and I can say, well, I didn't really want to see that table, so I'm sure the practice, I'll just freeze that one, turn it off, and make it active. If I make it active, oops, turn it on, make it active, and then we'll freeze this one, turn the table off. At any time I can go back and turn on the rest of the things that I've drawn, the mess. One of the nice things about this too is if I wanted to go clean up all the stuff I had in there, let's turn off, let's make that my active level and freeze these two. I close this off. I'm just going to select all of this stuff and hit delete. Oops. Don't show me that again. Oh, bet I still had that locked. That's why it wouldn't go. Sorry. I still had it locked. That's why you can't. If I lock it, I can't erase it. There we go. We can delete that. But you'll notice now, if I turn these two back on, I can erase things that are overlapping by just turning levels on and off. So in an architectural drawing, there is a whole series of standards that most architectural and engineering offices will use for their layering, whether it's a civil drawing, an architectural drawing, a structural drawing, all have specific levels that we'll talk about a little later on in the semester as we get into this a little deeper. That will be kind of picking and choosing, but putting those in so your dimensions are all in one layer, your notes are all in one layer, your mechanical parts might be in one layer, windows, doors, anything that you might want to separate at some point so that they're not so confusing and you can use the drawing for multiple purposes, we're going to put into separate layers, and we'll look at that a little bit later on. So we'll close this out. We've got these on, all unfrozen, so we'll just leave that the way it is for now. Double click my wheel, does a fit view. Let's go look and see what else is on our list. Controlling, we can create a new layer. We can make the selected layer current. So the way this works is, if I go back in here, and right now I'm in the layer 1. That's my active layer. If I click this tool, that's my isolate. Turn all layers on. Find the right tool. Make current. So I'm just going to click this, and if I left click on this, you'll notice now it automatically puts me into the layer and the color that was drawn in. If I select the same one again, click this, it puts me into the practice layer where we drew the counters and everything else. And if I had anything in the other level, we can lock layers, we can freeze it, we can unfreeze layers. If I click this and say I want to freeze that layer, it makes it disappear, so I don't even have to go to my layer tool. If I want to unfreeze it, then I'd have to come here, pull it down, there's my freeze, and I can unfreeze it right from the screen. So you may have a drawing that has 25, 50, or 100 different levels on it, all for specific items within the drawing file. Something to play around with. So you can see maintaining standards. Let's look at properties. Assign properties to the palette, what type of materials are going to go in there. So you can put properties in by color. You can associate different things. We won't get into this too much, but we want to make sure that we understand that we can put multiple properties with a drawing, and we can match properties from other line styles that are in there. We'll get into this. Probably this is a little more than what we want to deal with right now. They talk about line weights. Line weights, of course, are important. I mentioned that in our initial video, how much line weights kind of make the drawing look professional. It's not necessary to make the line weights thick on the computer screen, because we can use colors, and then we can interpret those colors so that when they output to a printer, we can tell it what line weight and what thickness and what color it is to print out as. Mostly it's going to be a black color, but sometimes when you use thick line weights on a video screen, they don't look as true as what they will look like when they print out, and it's hard to kind of visualize as easily. So we're gonna look at that a little closer later on. Modifications, my favorite tool. We can fillet, we can trim. We've already talked about trimming and rotating. When I want to mirror something, let's look at this for a second. Actually pretty easy to use. All of our tools for copying and moving and rotating and trimming are easy to work with. So there's our offset tool. This is offsetting a line, specific distances, mirroring. Let's just look at the mirror tool real quickly. Let's say I'm going to draw a shape with my polyline tool. And I want it to be perpendicular. I'm going to come over here. Oh, I turned off my... There we go. And I bring it down, and we'll make it touch right there. So we got a vertical line on that edge. I want to take this shape and I want to mirror it. So I'm going to hit my mirror tool. I'm going to select my object, hit enter. Down here, always read the line. It says specify first point for your mirror line. If I want to pick this point, and then I want to pick this point. So it's going to make a mirror image of this object to the other side. Left click, and then it says, do you want to erase the original object? I'm going to say heck no, because I want that to mirror out. So if you have something that is symmetrical, you don't need to draw both sides. You see this a lot in mechanical parts that look the same on both sides. You only have to draw half of it. And then if I want to, we can, because this is a polyline, I can ungroup that, hit escape, and it's still one piece. So what would happen if I hit trim, enter? Can I trim that? And can I trim that? So you can trim element segments out of the top. This actually made this ungroup So now they're individual line segments, but it gives me the ability to create specific shapes using that tool, and I could put them back together as a polyline. We'll show that a little bit later on when I figure it out. Haven't really done it too much. So again, that covers that portion of it. Let's go back. We're going to look at blocks. What is a block? A block can be any drawing, could be a title block, could be a north arrow, could be a piece of furniture. We only want to draw things once, and then we want to be able to reuse them over and over and over again. So we can put these into libraries. If it's a symbol, a north arrow, a gear, some piece, and engineering firms use this to the nth degree now, because you don't want to pay a draftsperson to draw things multiple times, the same object. You want to be able to download it, you want to be able to steal it, but you want to be able to reuse it for multiple projects, because a lot of times a door swing is a door swing. If you're putting a 3-foot door in a building, the symbol is going to be the same. Let's go and look at, let's say this object I just drew, I want to make a symbol out of it. I want to make a block. I'm just going to select it like this. Here's our create tool, and there's, you can see it says block. I'm going to create this block, and we're going to call it star 1, and we'll say OK. Now let's insert a block. There's my star. Oops, lost it. Star, base point, B. Oops, there it is. Spinning it all over the place. It's rotating off that. Yep, there they are. They all zoomed up here. So you can see anyway, I don't know why it does that sometimes. I got to figure out a better way to place these. But you can see it, my handle is down here at 0, 0 is what it's doing, is using that as my base point. If we place it again, this time, insertion point, it's going to come in at 1:1 scale. If I take that off, hit OK. It always wants to find 0, 0. I should be able to say insertion point. There it is. Oops. Guess I should always make my blocks at 0, 0, and that way they show up on my cursor. But anyway, and then I can take these. You can see once they're blocks, they become rotatable. So I want to rotate this now. I can find this as my point, and you can rotate it, spin it around, different angles. So I apologize for being a little sloppy on this, but this is a new version of AutoCAD, so some of my tool functions are a little bit different. So you can create blocks out of a series of furniture components. Anything can be a block, so we can place these in form. Layouts. Let's take a quick look at layouts. We have page setup manager, and we're specifying paper size. So when we look at our tabs down at the bottom of the screen, we're going to have a model tab, and we're going to have a sheet view or a layout tab. This is where we would put it onto a piece of paper. So we put this in, and you can see here's model, layout, layout 1. So let's see how that works. If I come here, and down here we can see layout 1, layout 2. Let's bring up layout 1, and it has a viewport already on here. So if I wanted to bring this out to the edges of my screen, and see the grid. There it is. You'll notice that this is actually what it would look like if it printed out without the grid on there. I'm not sure. I got to get rid of that somewhere. Take it off right here. So what I did was I clicked this where it says paper. This is what it's going to look like on paper. If I click this, it allows me, this is my model. You'll notice with this, I can move my object inside the paper viewport all by itself. I can zoom in and zoom out independently. If I wanted to see what this would look like at 1/4 inch equals a foot, which is down here ways, that's how big it would be in real size. So I know that's too small. If we said, what about 3/4 of an inch equals a foot? Yeah, still too small. Let's go 3 inches equals a foot. Perfect. So this actually would print out now to scale, and we can say for certain that this will print out. Now we put our title block on here, but if I also right click on this and say go to my page setup manager, this is where I can create a new page setup. We'll be doing this in class. We'll call it setup 1 just for the heck of it. And up here we have what are called pen tables. I want to create a new one, and I'm going to say next. Oops, let's start from scratch. This is going to be a very simple one. I'm just going to call it green. Hit next. I'm going to go to this plot style. I'm going to say anytime you see the color green, I want you to plot out as black, and I want your line weight down here to be 0.6 millimeters. We'll say save and close. Finish. Now you can see my green plot tab is set up here. And I'm going to print this out to a, let's go to an Adobe PDF. Actually, what else do we have? And Adobe PDF works for me. And what's that going to look like? If I hit my, let's go to it. We're going to go to a landscape mode as already set here. Hit preview. So you can see it increased my line weight. It took anything that was green on the paper and printed it out in black in a very thick line weight. It left my yellow all by itself. So I'll say, okay, what if I want yellow to be something different? Let's go and edit my green, and now I'm going to say yellow, I want you to print out as line weight 3, and I want you to be black. So you're going to be a little thinner line weight, but you're still going to print out in black because that's all I have is a black and white printer. Save and close. We'll just say OK this time and close. Now when we come down here and right click and say plot, we can see it's all set up except for I need to tell it to print to a PDF. And we'll do a preview again, and now you'll see that that line weight is much thinner than this line weight by using that pen table or plotter table. And if I actually hit print, it's going to print this to a PDF file. I'm going to put it just on my desktop. Video 1 layout, hit save. It should save it, and it should actually open up my PDF writer as soon as it gets done creating. Right there. So there's my drawing. Now I could print this out to a printer now. There's my print. I want to go to my document, rotate my pages counterclockwise. That's actually looking at an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that we've printed out with a pen table. Very simple, very easy to work with. I don't want to save it. So we'll come back here, look at our viewports. We just created one, and you can have multiple viewports on a sheet of paper, so you could have drawing elements at multiple scales, and we'll play around with that a little bit as we get into some of our projects. Scaling, we'll talk about that some more. And I think next time we'll talk about our notes and labels. I've probably droned on along for now, but get in, practice with these things, get used to working with the simple basic drawing files, lay some stuff out, and work with those line weights and colors and setting up layers, and we'll have some exercises that we'll actually do in the lab to kind of expand on this some more. And hopefully I'll get a little more proficient as we move forward. All right, that's good for me. Thanks.